Wat as die meeting by 10 to 9 nog nie klaar is, sal kom sluit by ons aan. Daar's hy. Good morning, honourable members. Thank you very much for joining us this morning and at short notice. This is Friday, the 19th of February at 8:30. And currently I see that we are 3 members in this meeting. Hearty welcome to you, Honourable Maran, and then Honourable Bartman and myself. I do hope that Honourable Mare and Honourable Maseko also would, make up the numbers in this committee, that they would be. Was called at such short notice is that there is a very strict timeline for our comments to be submitted to the NCOP in terms of the upgrading of land tenure rights amendment bill. Aspects of this act was found to be unconstitutional, and therefore Parliament was given a specific period in which to amend this bill to bring it in line with the Constitution of South Africa. So the purpose of this morning's meeting is just to get the ball rolling and to mandate our procedural officer, Ms. Niekerk, to start with the invitations to the public for their comments, and then also for us to decide on the ways in which the public would be able to participate in the proceedings and to inform us of their views on this bill that is serving before us. I also want to say thank you very much to those of you that attended the virtual briefing on the bill on Tuesday this week, and obviously that now can set the ball rolling. I want to give over to Ms. Niekerk, because obviously she's the one that needs the guidance from this committee, and I also would like to ask her to beam onto our screens her proposals. I do know that at least 2 of you are under very strict time limitations, and I therefore asked her to come up with a proposal. Obviously, members, you are free to deviate from that, but I just thought it might give some direction and save us some time if Ms. Niekerk can beam onto the screen for us her proposed public participation options that she has, and obviously these are based on earlier decisions by this and other committees of the Western Cape Provincial Parliament. So with that, I want to say, hand over to Ms. Niekerk. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairperson. I've just put it up onto the screen now. I've also circulated this to members last night.
Thank you. I can
the
see it. You can
proposal.
quickly
All
take
right.
us through this. Would you like to speak to this, or should I? Members, I hope you can hear me well.
Chairperson, I'm back now.
Yes, sorry. I said, would you like to
I
take
just,
us through this, or shall I proceed?
Chairperson, you please proceed with this one. Thank you.
Good, thank you. It seems Ms. Niekerk has got a unstable connection. So the proposal is that we consider a virtual public hearing, written comments, as well as oral submissions to the committee. Now, obviously, the oral submissions would then also be preceded by written comments. Or alternatively, the oral submissions could be via WhatsApp voice messages. What we have found in the past is that what hasn't been used that much, but I think the opinion was expressed in this meeting last time, and it carried support, that this is a new mean, just because the public may not be used to it already. So in terms of the public hearing, the verbal presentations, that we mentioned that as an option in any adverts that would go out, and that we will then send them an invitation to join us via MS Teams. Then in terms of written comments, it is proposed that written comments be emailed again to Ms. Niekerk's Western Cape Provincial Parliament address, and that this will also have a certain cut-off date, as I've said in this case, unfortunately, and that is why we have this meeting at such short notice. We may be limiting the public only to about a week from the advert to the closing date for comments to try and adhere to the timelines set by the NCOP. And this will then also be forwarded to the National Department for their comments on the public input, so that we can then see both responses. And then the last one is then the one that I mentioned earlier, the oral submission submitted via WhatsApp, and that the procedural officer will then again take care of this. Now, once all the submissions have been received, it will be consolidated by our procedural officer and forwarded to the National Department. Now, in terms of making the public aware of their right and their opportunity to comment, there is a proposal that we take out advertisements in the print media. As we know, this is quite an expensive one, and therefore, my proposal would be also, because I think many areas within the Western Cape are not affected by this bill, that we concentrate on 2, perhaps 3 of the biggest newspapers with a provincial-wide footprint, and that we then now, and I'm open for your comments, whether you want us to make use of radio consideration. I personally would be happy if we stick to the print media, and then the social media. We as a provincial parliament have got a Facebook account, etc., and our own website. And then we could send letters to stakeholders. I think particularly in this instance, I would propose that we send it to academic institutions here in the Western Cape, because I do know that, for example, the University of Cape Town has got a desk that specializes in land rights, land tenure, etc. And that we then also ask our outreach program from Parliament whether they would like to also, make the public aware through their programs of this bill. Good. And then we can, and Ms. Niekerk has proposed, that we perhaps use the research section just to indicate and try and find additional stakeholders that may want to comment on this. And then obviously, I think we would always welcome the advice from our legal advisor, Advocate Marsdorp. Good. And there you have the proposal, number 4, that the advertisements are placed a week from now, or as early as possible, and that members are given then a week, members of the public, to comment. Sorry, I see, Shireen, you foresee that we can't give a slightly longer time period for that. Perhaps you can just come in there, because I am concerned if we want to give the closing date for oral submissions, we may have to meet as a committee that we would normally try to avoid. Over to you, Ms. Niekerk, and then over to members that would like to comment.
Thank you, Chairperson. For print media, we will be able to get it into the papers by the 27th of Feb. So if we go into the papers on the 27th, comments and oral submissions proposed is the 22nd of March. So essentially that would then give members of the public 3 weeks in which to submit input. All right, the committee then would meet during the week of the 22nd of March, then to consider the written input and also to compile its negotiating mandates. Bearing in mind that the Select Committee has called for all provinces' negotiating mandates to reach, all right, and final mandates need to reach the Select Committee by the 13th of April. And with the final mandate, that essentially would mean that the committee would have to meet during the constituency period to compile its final mandate on this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, honourable members. Please raise your hands if you've got questions. Can I just ask Ms. Niekerk, from your experience, obviously this is putting a lot of pressure onto the committee. Do you believe that the 3 weeks for the public and 1 week for the committee is the best option?
Chairperson, in my experience, it's a bit
I think
tight.
you may have lost connection again.
Can you hear me, Chairperson?
I can hear you.
Okay.
I can also hear you.
Thank you, members. I don't know if the Chairperson is still with us, yes?
I'm with you. Can I say, okay, I'm just going to link up to a cable and not Wi-Fi. Okay. Can I take Honourable Bartman, Maree, Maseko and Maran in that order?
Thank you, Chair. Chair, just two things. It's not a train or anything. The first part is given that public submissions will be required to be submitted by the, that we're going to receive them by the 22nd of March. If I remember correctly, and I speak under correction, that's also the week that we're likely going to be dealing a lot with two budgets, essentially, within the provincial parliament. So it's just for us to bear in mind. That's the first part. And the second part is, if we are going to meet in constituency period, that I request that we please meet as close as possible to the new parliamentary term or quarter, so that we don't have to meet, for example, in the middle of the constituency period, but maybe like on the last working day or as close as possible to the next Monday or Tuesday. Thank you.
Thank you. Honourable Maree.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. Good morning, members. I think I got a few problems I want to raise. First of all, we cannot be rushed into something as important. It refers to communal land. Communal land is mostly in the rural areas, if not in totality. Communal land is not in cities. So what have the cities got to do with submissions about what should happen to communal land in Transkei, Botswana, Wende, Ciskei, Kwandebele, Elam, Genatendal? What have they got to do with it in any case? Should we not consult the people that's mostly affected by this legislation first? And these people deserve to be first explained the ramifications and implications should you either agree or not agree to this amendment. Because once property is transferred from communal to private ownership, then whatever empowerment deals might have been negotiated could definitely be cast aside They could sell the land at will, and then again they're landless. So I want to first of all say, why do we bother to ask the mainstream newspapers for advertisements which the poor don't read at all? They don't have money to spend 20 rand in the newspaper. So why don't you go and to community newspapers that is issued free of charge to members of the public, delivered to their homes? The Tigerburger, the Metro, the Plainsman, more people will be reached that way. The Sun, for instance, they nearly have 1 million viewers. Some of these mainstream newspapers hardly have 20,000 a day. The Sun have got 1 million. Why are we sticking to mainstream newspapers if there are other ways of reaching the public? So I want to say, in conclusion, we should first consider who will this amendment mostly affect, and then consult and inform those people.
Yes, thank you, Honourable Marie. I'm getting a message here that I've got a bad network quality this morning, so I'm struggling to follow. I hope you can hear me well. Honourable Maran, your comments?
Thanks, Chair. Chair, the two proposals made by the Honourable Baartman and Honourable Marais, just on the issue of the Honourable Marais, Chair, and we were briefed, we had a presentation about this act, as you have correctly stated earlier, which basically, Chair, speaks to the issue of, and they were saying that women were mostly affected or in a disadvantaged position, where there was just an application to turn the deed of grant into ownership, basically title deed. And the issue that the Honourable Marais raised, that we should go to communities and ask them whether they agree with the amendment of the Act. The sections, Chair, that we are dealing with was basically declared unconstitutional by the Constitutional Court. So whether we agree with it or not, it was been declared unconstitutional, and therefore we have no choice but to amend the Act. I would have wanted us to have more time on this specific, the process that should be followed now, but if you can remember, the Constitutional Court gave the Select Committee 13 months, and in those 13 months they have not basically deal with the amendments, and they had to go back at some stage to the Constitutional Court to extension. So I don't think there will be another opportunity to go back to the Constitutional Court if we want this process to take a bit long, to act within the time frames that's currently there, and as it's proposed here by I just wanted us to look at what the Honourable Baartman have said, basically, and other activities basically that might overlaps with the time, or what we basically wants to have to finalize this particular process. Just wants to look at that. But I fully agree basically with the proposals made. And if the procedural officer, as you have explained, if we don't have a problem basically with the time frame saying advertised from the 27th, and then the closing 22nd of March, if we don't have a problem with it, then we can go with it.
Good. So that's the proposal. It seems to be then there is support for that. Ms. Nickert will take into account the views also regarding meeting within the constituency period. Honourable members, and then what I've heard from Honourable Marais is that we should not only limit ourselves to the main stream newspapers, but that we also look at other newspapers, community newspapers, generally known as the freebies, with high publication or circulation rates. So could that be the meeting, the decision of the meeting this morning? Is there support for that? I take it that in the absence of any other comments, honourable members, I want to say thank you very much then for that. I do know that quite a number of you indicated that you have to rush off to other obligations. Some even said they had to leave at 1:45. My apologies for slightly running over time. And to you all, thank you very much again for joining us at short notice, for giving the guidance. And Ms. Niekerk will implement then as proposed and as recorded in this meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks, everyone. Goodbye.
Have a great
Enjoy
day.
your weekend.
Be safe. Thank you.
Bye-bye, members. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Ms. Niekerk, for your hard work at short notice. We're
You're
going to pull
welcome.
this off. Thank you.
Certainly. Thank you. Bye-bye.